This week's scout is sheltering from the famously strong northern Meltemi winds. We have a very secure anchorage on the island of Paros, but at this time of year, north winds can get downright cold.
It is cold in here. We had the heat on for a little bit this morning, but it is gray and dreary and we don't want to waste too much of our energy heating the boat. So I've made some nice warm tea. I've got 2 layers of sweaters on, trying to stay warm. What is going on? Wait, what are you doing?
Warm up a little bit.
What?
In the water is crazy.
Wind chill in the 40s, folks.
Polar Bear Club, if you're looking for a new member, I got one for you. That is insane. It is cold and rainy and windy and dreary.
Nice and warm now. Finally in a normal knitting, so we got 400 stitches per row. The cast on wasn't so bad. The first row is tedious, and now away we go.
There's no middle ground with Nate. He learns to walk, and next thing you know, he's off doing a marathon. First solo sail for this guy, crossing the Indian Ocean.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the big huge ferries are coming in. We're gonna go to shore for lunch and some exploring if I can ever get my family moving. The big ferry coming in is crazy. Hits 50 knots at top speeds.
Say hi, Kyron.
Hi, Kyron.
No, why do you ask?
That was fun.
Dinghy issues still not resolved, apparently.
Let's go
It
help him.
looks a bit like he's never driven a dinghy before. You're having still continued motor issues. And it died about 17 times just there as we were trying to attach it to the quay. That might be a frustrated captain. Frustrated?
No?
Hey, Kyron, you get in the
Jolly?
with the painter.
Got it exactly where I wanted it to be.
Excellent.
Okay, see that?
Doubt anybody noticed.
We just went to a place, one of the only surf shops in town that's open, and they did have a wetsuit, but it was the kind where you have to douse yourself with warm soapy water before you put it on. That's not going to be a practical wetsuit.
No, I'd love to get her all warm and soapy every time she needs to put her wetsuit on.
I bet he would. It is cold and windy, and we're gonna get some gelatos to get us more cold.
They have a bitter flavor that I think you should order.
Ooh. I think I found my perfect gelato flavor. Bitter, just
Bitter
like
chocolate.
me. The Church of 100 Doors was absolutely breathtaking. I had no idea. I'm so glad that we popped our heads in. The art was just stunning.
And I thought even more than the art, just like the ceiling, and looking at the bricks that was like that are like 1,000 years old. That is really amazing.
All right, dinghy ride into the wind. If the dinghy works.
Scary.
Yeah.
Really choppy.
Yeah, it is really choppy. Oh shoot, we are gonna get wet. It is way windier than when we came. Oh my goodness. Mad Max, folks.
I don't think that's the right analogy.
Mad
Is
Nate.
it? The charter season is picking up in the Med. We know what it's like to be out on the water without much prior experience, so we try to help others where we can. We also thought it might be worthwhile putting together some do's and don'ts for anchoring best practices.
Don't go too fast. Slow is pro. When you come into an unfamiliar anchorage, don't just motor in at top speeds and take the first spot you see. Look around, check your depth sensor, and make sure what you're seeing matches what's on the chart. Picking the right spot for you is super important. Scout likes to be in deeper water at the back of an anchorage. We like a little privacy, we like to let out a lot of scope, and we like to have room for swinging. We don't want to be up front and close to everyone else. We don't like to crowd, and we don't like to be too shallow.
Maybe the single most important part of anchoring is picking the right anchorage. You ideally want shelter from both wind and waves. In a nutshell, you want land in between you and weather. So anchor here, not here. May seem obvious, but you need to stay flexible. Boats with rigid itineraries can sometimes find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. In the Bahamas, you might never need more than 100 feet. But further afield, you're going to need more, and you don't want to feel limited on where you can anchor or what scope you can put out by your chain. We've got 330 feet, which allows us to sit comfortably in deeper water if need be. Dominant prevailing winds are actually some of the easiest conditions to anchor. Yes, it might be intimidating navigating an anchorage in 20 knots of wind, but if the wind is strong enough, it's telling you where your neighbors have their anchors and where their boats are going to stay. What's important here is to find a space for your boat, not your anchor. What I mean by this is too often we see boats find an open spot, drop their hook, only to drift back way too close to the boat behind. Using the bow thruster, but he's coming right at us.
Maybe try to reach out. You know some German, right?
I mean, this is just about a fender situation.
Yeah. Should we get one?
Speak English? Yes. So, I mean, there's plenty of room right up there, but if you want to go here, the way to do it is right in between our stern and them. Drop the anchor there and then go back, and then you swing together. Where you are, we're in the same radius. In strong prevailing winds, you can drop the hook right off the stern of the boat in front and then drift back into the open spot, and you and the boats around you will all swing together. No anchoring situation is ever the same. Right now we're up against a gorgeous Greek coastline, but it goes from shallow to deep pretty quick, and we got, as you can see, rocks around. So we're in about 35 feet, and the conversation we always have with scope, are we more worried about dragging, are we more worried about swing radius? There's nobody near us, but there's rocks near us, so I'm still more worried about, I mean, there's rocks. It's a wide lens, but the rocks are right behind us, so I'm more worried about swing radius ultimately than I am about dragging. The wind is pushing us out to sea. So we're at about 35 feet. I think probably 150 and then bridle would be 175. Be just under 5 to 1, but we're in a nice sandy bottom, so it should be fine. Does that sound good to you?
I think that sounds good. When it comes to being comfortable at anchor, your bridle is your friend. So know how to use it. All right, the bridle's on. We're all set, right? Let's go get some drinks. Wrong. How about now? Looks good, right? Nope, still not right. Let's try it one more time. So what you're looking for when you're deploying your bridle is a nice belly in it. You want to have a loop of chain that hangs down between your boat and the bridle hook. Now, let's go get some drinks. Or at least get back to our chores.
Always anchor with enough scope and room with the worst conditions you're expecting to see in mind. To drive this point home, I'm going to show a clip of chaos we encountered in Georgetown in the Bahamas, which is usually a very sheltered, very tranquil anchor, but there was a blow coming that was forecasted days in advance, and yet a number of boats were still caught off guard.
Urgent. Let everyone know that we are
Right at the tip of the front here, it is crazy.
Miles per hour, please.
They are under power now, going right in front of us.
Security. All boats.
I don't know where they're going.
Georgetown. Please make yourself visible. Switch on your
Boats are dragging like crazy.
If anyone tracks around you.
Man, we got a big old anchor and we got 200 feet of chain out. We were okay. I am making sure that we are dug in. I do that a couple different ways. One, I've got an app that's really nice. I put it right on where the anchor is, and then I check to make sure our progress via GPS is arrested. The other thing I do is just keep an eye on boat speed. You know, as we settle in, the knots should obviously go down to 0. The third thing is relative. Like, hey, I take a position and triangulate where we're at relative to landmarks and make sure we aren't moving there. So I make sure we're really steady. One thing I'm not gonna do at all, we are in 15 to 20 knots of wind. I'm not gonna back down on it with the engines. I just don't need to. There is plenty of force shoving us backwards away from the anchor that I don't need to rev the engines against the anchor. Maybe some would disagree with that, but there's plenty enough force to make sure that we're dug in and to make me comfortable in that we're not moving and are not gonna move even if the winds pick up more. So I'm letting nature do it for us. It isn't always practical, but when it is, and when you've got any questions about how you're holding, there's no substitute for getting in the water and putting eyes on how the anchor is sitting, especially if there's something going on that you can't explain. In Indonesia, we were anchoring in deep water close to land, and even after a couple attempts, I could tell something was not right. So I went down and set it manually.
It's a beautiful morning, and we're raising the anchor. So how do we do that? What does it look like to raise your anchor the proper way? So the main thing that we want to focus on here as we're raising the anchor is to not pull the boat with the windlass. If you put too much stress on it, you will absolutely wear out the motor and you will break it and you'll be very unhappy. So we want to treat it very tenderly. So as we are raising it, I'm just gonna give Nate the signal to give us a little bit of forward, and he's gonna creep up on the bridle so that there's not a lot of tension there again. So we're not moving the boat with the windlass, pulling on the anchor, but Nate's gonna give us a little power from the helm. We are just going to continue slowly raising the anchor and always watching that the chain is going straight down vertical. We do not want to be putting pressure on the windlass when the anchor chain is at an angle. Even for seasoned pros who've sailed 3/4 away around the world, sometimes picking up the anchor can be a little stressful. Calimera. 4 to go to Naoussa? Yes. This is super beautiful and charming. An ancient castle here in Naoussa, in Paros. Really beautiful, really wild.
So I've been to a lot of places in Europe. I've never been any place quite like this. I guess it's the stereotype, cutesy, 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 little walking Greek town. It's really adorable. You don't know when like it being like this organically changed to being like this for tourists, but it's cute. Cute, cute, cute.
It's been years now, but I remember a time when this type of adventure, striking out on an unfamiliar road, heading towards a destination that we didn't know where it was or how long it would take us to get there, but using our own energy, our walking feet to strike out and discover new things was quite the adventure. We were all very excited about it. Some of that charm has worn off.
That may be true, and that's okay. Yes, we're incredibly fortunate to have charming Greek islands as our backdrop. But that's ultimately not the most important thing.
Back in Perikia Bay, and there's Scout out there.
A friend of mine who did a 10-year circumnavigation with his wife and 2 kids told me when I set out that it would take about a year to get into the cruising rhythm. There have been ebbs and flows, but it took us closer to 2. The challenge isn't the boat. The challenge is finding balance as a family in day-to-day life.
Jeez, Mom is really, she just likes to play. She doesn't like to get the work done.
Grocery shopping, doing chores, etc.
Getting some handmade sausages. Yay!
In a foreign and constantly changing environment. There's a stat out there that 90% of the time you ever spend with your kids happens before they're 18. Obviously that varies, but as incredibly fortunate as we are to be exploring Greece and all the other amazing places we've been, we're most fortunate that we're able to do it together.